guys, so basically, hey guys, so this is what if Deku was a Greek legend part 3. Now, part 2 was like months ago, so it was kind of long overdue. Now, this video doesn't get a lot of views. I understand that, but I put a lot of work in this video, but whatever. This video is going to be like 1 hour long, probably like 40 or 30 minutes. So let's get into it, guys. So basically, let's get ready. So basically, I last left off where Deku was given half the power of a god by Zeus, his grandfather, aka Hercules' dad, aka the god of all gods. So basically, Deku was given the power of half god, but he couldn't use too much of it or else he would pass out. But eventually, by the time part 5 or part 4 rolls along, guys, basically Deku will be pretty much, adjust to the half a power of God enough for him to get the full power of God and earn his way into, well, the pretty much Olympus, or earn his way in the heavens, or, the gods. Pretty much Deku becoming a god of, well, yeah, I don't know. But you guys can decide what Deku should be a god of. Now, basically, let's get started, guys. So, I last left off for Deku passed out after he used too much of his half-god powers to jump off the roof where he's talking to pretty much Zeus to and fell down. And basically, he wakes up in his chamber or in his room, pretty much bandaged up by one of the bandaged up by Todoroki, since Todoroki, is pretty handy with that. Basically, we see Todoroki basically walk in Deku's chambers and pretty much tell him to get ready. Now, basically, they get ready on a kind of a journey of some sorts. Now, basically, Deku gets ready and gets into his gear, or gets into a new, pretty much, outfit prepared by Todoroki's men, or his pretty much, welders. And this suit is basically well forged from a skin of a mythical type being. And basically, this armor was forged out of some of the scars and medals cast around all of history by different items, swords, and weapons that Zeus, Hermes, or any of the gods given to mortals over the centuries of the gods living. Now, basically, Deku's suit, well, like 50% of it would be made out of foreign metal from different gods. Now, basically, Deku's suit would be incredibly durable, and also it would be incredibly, well, really light, but very, well, durable. Almost type vibranium type metal. Now, basically, his suit would also have a type of mythical binding on it of some sorts. Now, basically, with the powers of God, Deku does have some sort of, super durability and stuff like that. So Deku barely uses the whole entire, the whole entire, shield thing on it. Now, basically, Deku's also given bow and arrow, and also just takes his pretty much sword, and some of his other, items he's gotten, including his time dagger. Now, basically, we get switched to basically Deku, Todoroki, Kirishima, and Bakugo going down to the city or the village, trying to get some, ends meet of some sorts. Now, they're already living with Todoroki, and Todoroki is like, the son, or like a warlock, or type of, sorcerer, pretty much amongst a family of royals. Basically, Todoroki pretty much lives in his own chambers that he pretty much got permission to build, reconstruct, and have for his own needs, and to live there, because he didn't want to live with his father at the kingdom. They went to the kingdom, or went to the village, and basically started to, grab some groceries, stuff like that, and, just food. And basically, they got a couple of food. When we see Kirishima and Bakugo holding most of the food, Deku was walking off when he gets pretty much turned aside or pulled aside by some sort of woman. And this woman reveals herself as Momoyarozu, this ship. Now, basically, Deku was confused and pretty much asked, "Why are you here, queen? Why are you here, princess?" Basically, him trying to be humble. The princess tells pretty much Deku, "I need your help." Pretty much leading Deku to some sort of type of training field. And basically, the princess says, "I've seen you in work. I've seen that you are powerful, you're brave, and you're courageous. And they need your help. Don't tell them that I sent you here." And pretty much Momo leaves, sprinting away. Now we see Deku basically looking at the battlefield, and we see a woman pretty much training a couple other men, and we see another man about looking like he's a more higher up, training more of the bulkier, more stronger looking men. Now basically, Deku walks over to the woman and pretty much asks her, "What are you training for?" Basically, she says, "You don't know? We're training for the Trojan War." Now, basically, Deku's confused, and we get switched back to Olympus, where we see pretty much the gods get ready for some sort of, wedding. And basically, they still get ready for a wedding, but they leave behind or they don't invite a certain god or goddess, Eras. So basically, Eras would have not been invited to the wedding of the gods. Basically, she would be filled by jealousy or just, pure rage because she wasn't invited. But she would have gone to the wedding anyways, being uninvited. Now, she would have gone to the wedding and she would have brought in a golden apple. And this golden apple. Now, when she came to the wedding, she was, pushed away. And basically, she would have taken out a golden apple, basically saying that it is assigned to the fairest, and basically throwing it into the crowd of goddesses. Hera, Aphrodite, and a few other goddesses wanted the, golden apple, and asked Zeus. Basically, Zeus would have delegated the, problem to Darius Gatroy. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but would have told Hermes to take the goddesses there. Now, pretty much Hermes and multiple other pretty much promises were given. A marriage, wealth, and stuff like that. Basically, Athena would be, Aphrodite would basically become the owner or have the golden apple. Aphrodite. So Aphrodite was given the green apple. The golden apple. Basically, we would get switched back to pretty much Earth or the real world, away from Olympus, and basically we would see the Trojan War starting. And the Trojan War would be a war against Troy, and pretty much the kingdom's walls would have kept Troy at bay, but their war would have started near the beginning. Now, basically, Deku would meet a couple other historical figures, including so Deku would have been fighting or would have joined the war. Now we would skip about a couple months later, and in those months, nothing interesting would happen. The only thing that would happen is pretty much Deku would train for the war, and he'll be an exceptional student through the training. And Deku would also meet other faces. And pretty much on the second month, Deku was in the city, basically hanging out with Kirishima and Bakugo. Kirishima and Bakugo asked Deku was there any more roles in the war, and Deku said yes. So basically, they were on the way back to basically the training ground to try to enter in or volunteer for the war. And on their way, Deku went on a detour, basically taking a shortcut, but telling his friends Kirishima and Bakugo to take the right walk towards the training ground. Now, Deku would have been walking around, would have been trying to find the shortcut when he would bump into a pink-haired woman, but not pink skin. Now, basically, he would get up and help the woman up, and basically the woman would have said thank you. Basically, her having yellow eyes and also pink hair. Deku being confused, but not really being that confused since his friend had red hair and he had green hair. Now, basically, and also his other friend, his rich friend, also had white and red hair. So basically, Deku said, "I love your hair," and is pretty much also asking, "What's your name?" Now, basically, the woman would have answered with, "Well, my name is Ashido." Now, basically, this would be Mina Ashido, or pretty much Alien Queen. Now, basically, Deku would have said that's a beautiful name. Basically, him kind of not really intentionally flirting with her, but is. So basically, she would have think this as a flirting. So basically, she would have said, "Thank you for helping me up. I had to go now." Basically, him saying, "I hope I see you later." Basically, him kissing her hand and pretty much thanking her, a nice day, and telling her, or pretty much saying goodbye. Now, basically, Deku being sort of a gentleman, not really having feelings for her. But basically, she would have been walking up the market when she would bump into Kirishima. After Kirishima pretty much had to go to the restroom through the training. Now, basically, Deku Deku would have been walking. We switched right to Deku, and Deku would be going through the detour, and he would eventually come to the training ground. He would have asked Bakugo where is Kirishima, and Bakugo said Kirishima just left for some bathroom break. Now, basically, Kirishima would be talking to the pink-haired woman, and at that point on, they would bond or have an actual connection. And they would be talking for hours and hours, and they would sit down near a rock area, and then pretty much the entrance of the market. Basically, them talking and having a lot of things in common. Basically, we could switch back to Deku, and after the training, Deku would have walked with Kirishima, telling Kirishima that you need to go tomorrow to do more training. And that's the last day training, because the war started tomorrow. And basically, Deku gets ready, and everybody gets into their armor. Now, Bakugo has more of a medieval type armor, but so basically, Deku would have been telling Bakugo to get ready. Now, guys, if you don't know, basically, this is going to be really straight off the path of what happened historically for the Trojan War, but enough for it to be called the Trojan War. So basically, Bakugo would have gotten into his, kind of outfit. Basically, him not actually having the cape being more of a robe type thing. And basically, he also would not have a, king's crown. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't really a thing back in the Olympus. And basically, Kirishima would also be in just a similar type of Choi armor, just with it being red metal. And basically, they would have gotten ready for the war. And basically, the day before the war, they were getting ready. And basically, Deku, and pretty much the first 9 years of the war went on. And basically, this time gap would have been going through time and time, battle through battle, and death by death. And pretty much most of the people Deku became friends with during the war died. Now, Deku would have been very thankful that his main friends, pretty much Kirishima and Bakugo, weren't dead yet. Probably wondering, after these 90 years, where was Todoroki? Now, Todoroki would be living in the same type of, castle type palace he was living in, and basically would have still been training himself to learn more about his pretty much sorcery of ice and fire, or mainly ice. Now, basically, we would see Deku one day in particular. We would see Deku going through the battlefield, running around, and slicing people's horses' legs, taking them down, and pretty much taking more and more soldiers down. Now, at this point, Deku has never used his god powers in combat through the 9 years of the war. Now, this would be basically, Deku, one day in particular of the 9 years of the war, Deku would have been kicking down horses and punching them pretty much normal strength, and basically would have been hit by one horse, in particular, getting fell down in the ground. The soldier would have started to stab Deku with a spear, but Deku would have used his god powers for a short amount of time to make his skin impenetrable in breaking the spear on contact. Just like crushing it like a beer can, or the actual blade being crushed or pretty much fractured or shattered, like a glass. And basically, Deku looked at the soldier. The soldier would be confused on how the spear just broke. And basically, Deku would have grabbed the stick, and pretty much, or the stick, or the remainder of the spear, and would have hit the man so hard, not really noticing that he's still in God mode or still in his God, strength. Basically, him smacking the literal life out of the man. Basically, the man literally, passing out and going to sleep forever by just one swift hit in the back by a stick. Now, basically, pretty much the man was sent flying, and the horse was obliterated, or sort of the horse's legs were completely messed up since the horse's legs went backwards and forwards for some reason because of the wind pressure. And basically, the horse's legs were broken. And so Deku just, took care of the horse so it wouldn't suffer. Now, basically, we will see Deku going through. Now, basically, we will see Deku going through the changes, or pretty much the war, throwing more punches and battles. Pretty much him still being in God mode, him making horses fly, making owners get horses, pretty much riders of the horse flying up in the air at least like 8 or 7 feet up in the air, and multiple other stuff, punching them, throwing them around like rag dolls, just going crazy. Deku, pretty much halfway through the war, he just went back to his demigod type of strength. Basically, him having the strength of Hercules. And basically, Deku would have started to punch, kick, and swiftly just, pretty much throw rocks like, paper balls. Basically, him going crazy. Now, basically, Deku would have actually put a huge dent in Troy's defenses or their war. But that dent would have quickly healed up, sort of. Basically, Deku would have lost, a lot of energy through using his god powers until they were depleted for the day, and also use, his demigod strength. Now, Deku fell into the ground, basically him about to pass out, when Kirishima came out of nowhere on a horse, pretty much grabbing Deku and pretty much riding him on the safe area in the war. Basically, him trying to get him to a safe area so he can hide them into the war or until this battle was over. Now, basically, near the end of the battle, Deku woke up in a type of pretty much healing area or a pretty much tent, basically patched up. Now, Deku would have gotten up and tried to use his god powers to heal himself, but he would see that his god powers would have depleted for the next couple of hours. So, in the 10th and 9th year, basically a woman, pretty much a lot of historical things would happen, but a god would have sent a plague to take down half of the armies, or a sort of kingdom of sorts. Now, Deku would have heard this through the pretty much messenger, or pretty much one of the messengers through the Trojan War, and this messenger would have been none other than, Ida, or the Greek version of Ida. Now, this messenger would have been, a simple folk type of, foreigner, but he would also have a source, he would also be a type of demigod. And pretty much Ida would have been the demigod, or the son of Hermes, the messenger, the god of, the messenger, or the messenger, the god, what does it say? The messenger god. Basically, him running and him having the demigod ability to, have a slight of super speed, and him having wings, or probably like 4 wings on his calves instead of engines, and basically him being able to sort of, type straight up just fly from his feet, or to basically jump really high and also run pretty far and fast. Now, basically, Deku would have, seen this and would have been very, interested by this. But basically, Ida would have had a gift from his father. Basically, his father using a little bit of spell or a binding to basically make the wings become invisible to anybody that wasn't a half-blood or wasn't a relative or distant relative of a Greek god, like a grandson of a demigod or just a straight-up demigod. So gods, demigods, and other things along that way could see Ida's wings, but normal people couldn't. But since Bakugo and Kirishima were, the grandsons of the god of time, they were, demigods of some sort, so they saw the wings as well. They asked Ida the wings, and Ida explained that he was, well, the god of Hermes, the son of Hermes. Now, pretty much, Deku would have asked Ida for well, a sort of a favor. Now, basically, Ida would have taken this and trying to connect with other people like him, or people that have fathers like, fathers that are gods, or grandfathers that are gods. Now, basically, Deku would have given Ida a message, and Ida would have ran it. Ida would have ran it to a certain area, or pretty much to a type of area that was pretty much made for devoting or praying to Zeus. Basically, he left the message there and ran off. Zeus saw this and picked it up or read it through his mortal disguise, basically seeing it and saying that it was from his grandson. Basically, him being very, well, surprised by this, but also being very happy with what the note said. Now, basically, we could switch off there, and basically, on the near the end of the war, Deku would have gone through type of argument with the main head of the army. Basically, him made an argument with him, the pretty much the army man, and pretty much this part of the story would have been cut out because it would have really been that interesting. It would be a type of woman or a female that was taken under captive, and she would just be a historical figure in Greek mythology. No, other My Hero Academia turned into a Greek version of their self. Basically, Deku pretty much getting an argument with him. Now, basically, he would have pretty much ran away from the argument, and pretty much, Kirishima would have asked Deku to borrow his armor to go up against the, leader. And basically, he would have gone to the leader, and they would have had a type of draw. Now, they would have gone to battle, back and forth. The battle would go on for hours on end. And basically, eventually, Deku would see that Kirishima lost. Now, basically, Deku would have ran into the battlefield where they were fighting, basically crying his eyes out because as they were fighting, Kirishima's armor, or Deku's armor that he lent to Kirishima, was unpatched by one strap that was made out of normal leather, and out of a million chances, the leader or the general cut the strap and the armor fell off, and as Kirishima was exposed, the leader or the general stabbed Kirishima. Now we see, and this would be a huge turning point for Deku, and Deku would truly lose somebody close to him. Now basically, Deku would have grabbed Kirishima and would have yelled at the general saying, "Why did you do this?" Basically, the general saying that he challenged me, and those that challenged me must die. Now basically, Deku would get angry, and the lightning would come out of his eyes, and the storm would start brewing. Deku was about to straight up just murk the general, but Zeus would have talked to Deku mentally and would have told him to keep it on a down low. Pretty much Deku talking back telepathically to Zeus, telling him I can't just let the general get away with this. And Zeus said, "I'll handle it. And it's time he'll eventually go to his coming to him." Now, pretty much at that point, Deku would understand. So Deku would have gone on his, path. Basically, him giving Kirishima a proper burial. Pretty much burial. A grave, okay? So basically, Deku would have walked off from that point, would have lost somebody very close to him, a friend. Bakugo would also be very more heartbreaking since Kirishima in this world was actually Bakugo's blood brother. Now basically, Bakugo would have seen this as a treaty of, hate or death, and basically would have that night would have gone after the general and would have taken his life in the heat of the night. Now basically, Deku would have gotten ready for the last attack, and pretty much the Trojan War Pretty much Deku would have gotten ready and would have got into his armor. Basically, him fixing the shop on his armor and him getting ready for, well, the fight. And basically, Deku would go past Kirishima's barrier, burial, yeah, I said it right, burial, and basically would have prayed there, asking pretty much Kirishima for safe guidance through the, well, afterlife. Now, basically, pretty much Deku would have left, and we would have seen Hermes show up. Hermes would have taken Kirishima's soul right after Deku left, and after Bakugo prayed to his brother's burial, and basically they would have left, and they would have gotten ready for the war or the next battle. Now, basically, Hermes would have grabbed Kirishima, would have told Kirishima that I have a message for you, for your grandfather. Basically, him having a message from the time of God, pretty much the God of time, pretty much his grandfather saying that I'm not gonna let you die this young. Basically, Kirishima being confused, and Hermes saying that was the last, well, poet, or the last line of the note. Pretty much Hermes saying, I can't take it afterlife. And pretty much Kirishima asking why not. Pretty much Hermes saying that you aren't dead yet, or you're not going to. Basically, us being switched by some sort of, in our perspective, a rewind type button, and we rewind the second, pretty much the day before Kirishima asked Deku his armor, and the only people that recognized or pretty much realized the time loop happened was Kirishima himself and Deku. Now they would have seen this, and they would have never challenged the pretty much what was it? Pretty much never would challenge the pretty much what was it? Deku would have actually challenged the pretty much general instead of Kirishima, and basically Deku would have gotten into the battle or into the fight with the leader. Now Deku would have tried to end this fight very quickly. Him ended it incredibly quickly, taking his sword and just swinging it as hard as he can, using his demigod strength or his Hercules type strength. The general just cut the general into anime Bleach style, basically just cutting the general in two. Now basically the general would have perished, and Deku would have won, and basically everybody would be completely shocked at how fast, how precise, and how clean the cut was in the general. Now basically Deku would have gotten up from his whole entire anime, landing type pose that he had after he sliced the general, like a straight up, cucumber, and basically, Deku would have been crowned as the general. Now basically, after the whole entire, fighting or the battle, basically a couple months would have ran back, and the pretty much end of the war, or the most compactive, most iconic role of the war, the Trojan horse. Now basically, we would see a certain member on the pretty much team bring up the idea, or the pretty much army bring up the idea, or like pretty much another version of the original person that brought the idea of the Trojan horse. And basically this person will be replaced with basically a Greek version or a Greek mythology version of a Greek mythology version of I can't say it right now. Let me think. A Greek mythology version of Azawa. And basically he would have brought up the idea of this. And basically they would have, taken that idea, and basically they would have made the Trojan horse. Now they would have hidden in the Trojan horse and waited for the pretty much opposing threat to take in the gift, and would have brought it in. And basically that's when the soldiers jumped out and fought against pretty much the opposing or Troy. Basically they would have gone up against everybody fighting, and eventually Deku, Kirishima, and Bakugo would have fought side by side through the war, going back and forth, and Deku using most of his god powers to straight up just like one punch buildings down, completely just destroy pretty much blocks worth of pretty much villages, and just started just taking down more and more of the pretty much kingdom. Now eventually they would have won the war, and Deku would have been congratulated when he came back from the war to basically look towards Zeus. Now basically Zeus would have told Deku the whole pretty much shenanigan on how the gods started the Trojan War and blah blah blah. And also about how the god of time has broken a very powerful rule to pretty much change the fate of a certain somebody, his family. Basically Zeus would have told Deku that I never temporarily or ever play with your fate, Zuko, or my son, basically saying that your fate has always been to be a great hero. Your fate has already been sealed to live until your last breath, or to live until your last stand. Either one, the women haven't decided if you should die a hero or die an old man peacefully. Now basically Deku would have seen this as a good opportunity, knowing that his fate has been sealed to die a hero other than just dying in a war. Now basically, Deku would have gone ready and pretty much would have gone just on a show after the events of the war, a couple years after. Now Deku, Kirishima, and Bakugo would have slight, memories from the war that would change them, but not enough for the story to really change into a more gritty, darky version. Now basically, Deku would have gone near the market and would have gone near the pretty much beach area of the kingdom and would have been sitting there. And basically, Deku would have heard a laughing behind him, and Deku would have gotten up looking behind himself. Deku would have looked around, and Deku would have seen some sort of redhead man with a red beard and also some sort of, horny-esque marks on his head. Basically, the man looking at Izuku saying, I guess my brother really did have a grandson. And basically, pretty much, Deku would have been confused saying, brother, grandson, are you Poseidon? Basically, Hades saying, just because we're near water doesn't mean I'm Poseidon, dummy. Basically, him explaining himself to be Hades, the god of the underworld. Basically, him asking Deku, do you know how much of a loser, how much of a complete failure you really are? Pretty much Deku said, what do you mean? I won the war. We won the war. I became a hero. I've defeated the Minotaur. Taking down, pretty much him thinking, pretty much him coming to a conclusion that, he's forgotten the name, and saying, I've defeated the Minotaur, I've defeated Medusa, and I've fought alongside people and mainly became the most popular person in the Trojan War. I've made history, and I'm on my way to become a better hero than even that. And basically, Hades would have told Deku that you're more of a pitiful fool than I could think. You're not a hero. I chose my path, you chose yours. You chose the way of the hero, like your father. Your father was a hero, but he died a fool. Basically, Deku saying, whatever. He didn't die a fool. He left, yes, I know. Pretty much Hades saying that. Now basically, Hades would have gone on about how you're nothing but a weak, unreliable child. You think you're a hero just because you fought in a war, you took out a Minotaur, and you defeated Zeus's sister. But it doesn't make you a hero. It makes you, a fighter. You're nothing near as great as a hero. You haven't even done the most things Hercules has done. Hercules was a selfish prick that thought himself as a total hero. He may have saved the day but he was never truly a hero. He was just a boy given the powers of a god. He was just a god turned into a mortal. Basically, Deku saying I fought for my role of the hero. Basically, Hades saying you didn't fight for your role of the hero. Your fate is to become a hero, and nothing more. And basically, Deku having an argument with Hades, telling Hades, "Why are you even here? Just to talk down on me?" Basically, Hades is saying, "No, not to talk down on you. That's not the only reason I'm here. Only reason I'm here is that what I'm trying to say here is that you're unreliable, and also you might want to check back home. I think you might have lost or missed somebody at home." Basically, Deku saying, "If you hurt my mom," basically he's saying, "Why do I have the reason to hurt your mom? I barely even know you." Basically, Hades leaving or teleporting away. Now, pretty much Deku that night would have gotten ready for a boat to go back to his village that he came from, and basically telling Kirishima and Bakugo and also Todoroki that I'll be back by next dawn. Basically saying tomorrow, and him rolling on his boat back to home. He would have gone back to the village and he would have ran back to his old house, seeing the house empty and seeing that all his stuff was still there, but it looked like it's never been, well, in the last couple of years, it looked like it's never been lived in. And pretty much Deku saying that's super unlike my mom. My mom's a total clean freak. Basically, Deku looking around and fighting basically, well, nothing. Deku would have came out the building and basically a couple men would have told Deku, "Why are you in there?" Pretty much Deku saying this was where my mom lived or where I used to live. Basically, the man saying, looking at each other and pretty much telling Nezuko that the woman in there died 5 years ago. Basically, Deku going into shock, or more or less just being incredibly confused, shocked, sad, enraged, and just completely distraught. Basically, Deku telling them to get out of my way, and him getting back on the boat and going back to pretty much the kingdom. The next day, or the next midnight, basically Deku would have showed up to pretty much the kingdom or his main island, and would have gotten off the boat, basically tying it up and walking towards pretty much the palace on the island where Todoroki, Kirishima, and Bakugo are living. Now, Deku would have gone to his chambers and would have packed up everything, taken all of his weapons and stuff, and getting ready for a battle of his life. Deku would have passed his friends, and they would have asked where he going. Deku said, "I need to finish some business." Basically, Deku leaving them and them being very, very confused where Deku was going. Deku was living and he was stopped by a lightning bolt out of nowhere, and it was clear. It was a clear night in the sky. Now Deku would have looked around, and he eventually would have seen that some sort of figure in the stars would have started pretty much piecing together, making a silhouette of a man, and the man pretty much appearing in a type of illusion, or type of illusion that only Deku can see, Zeus. But Zeus would have appeared in his physical god form in front of Deku. Basically, Deku backing up, saying to Zeus to get out of my way. Zeus would have told Deku, "Why are you doing this? Where are you even going?" Basically, Deku saying, "Why do you even care? You didn't even have the common decency to tell me my mother was dead." Pretty much, Zeus saying, "It wasn't my choice." Pretty much, Deku saying, "What do you mean?" Pretty much, Zeus said, "It wasn't your fate. It wasn't a part of your plan for you to find out your mother was dead at this time." Basically, Deku saying, "Well, it wasn't my plan to hear from Hades, my uncle that is supposed to be a literal demon." Basically Zeus saying, "He's told you?" Basically, Deku saying, "Yes, a man I never knew, a man that's killed more people than you have ever done, or you have ever, given gifts to, praises to. He has souls He manages souls for a living. He kills people. He's a monster, but he still had the common decency. They still had the same respect for me to tell me my mother was actually dead. Unless you have a better reason why not telling me my mother was dead, other than it wasn't my fate. Anybody should know if their mother's dead or not. It's a common rule. You should have known. You do know, and I know you do. Basically, Zeus saying, I'm sorry. Basically, Deku saying, no. I'm getting tired of this. I'm ending this. My role may in the fate or the role of things may have to be a hero, but I don't have to be a nice hero. Basically, Deku saying, I'm going to a village to end a war or to end a terrorizing threat on their village. They name it Centauro. Basically, him just trying to go to a village to take down pretty much a mythical monster that's terrorizing the village. But Deku gets stopped when Zeus tells Deku, if you're going to become a murderer, or if you're going to go on to do your own work as a hero, at least go after the man that killed your mother. Basically, Deku saying, killed my mother. The guard said that she just died. Basically, pretty much, well, Zeus saying, no, the man that killed your mother is, and I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like to subscribe. I'll see you guys in part 4, and probably like next month, or probably like later this week. But yeah, guys. So after this video, I will be uploading. As a guarantee. I will be only uploading. What if what was it? I am gonna be uploading. What if what was it? What if Deku was Shang-Chi? Basically, I'm gonna be doing that what if next, and after that what if I'm gonna be uploading what if Duke Thomas was in Young Justice, and then after that I'll be uploading a couple other what ifs just randomly, and I'll see you guys later. So I hope you guys like, subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed